Good afternoon, all. So I was talking to Jatin and I said ki, the session timing, right? It was supposed to happen at 2:30, and post the lunch that we had, power lunch, right? I'm really afraid what justice will I do to this audience. Okay, so I've tried to keep it very short, right? Interactive, right? Please feel free to stop me as and when required. We can have a discussion. I'll keep it short so that we have lineup of speakers. Okay. So I mean, just a quick check. I mean, this entire crowd is of manufacturing. How is it? Okay, mix. Okay, okay, largely manufacturing. I'm not a manufacturing guy, so just a quick introduction. I spent almost 15 years of my life into, 14 years of my life into healthcare, consulting and healthcare. So I did consulting across industries. Automotive was one of them, and post which shifted on the industry side with first company as Abbott, second as Pfizer, and now with CEAT on the manufacturing side. Yeah. Okay. Just a quick starter slide, right? I mean, the reason you see this slide here, any guesses? I mean, so we have the top 10 companies by market cap. Any reason why I've tried to show this slide? Any similarities, any commonalities that you see in this slide? What's the key message? Right. And tech at core, right? And see, if you see NVIDIA today and yesterday's roundtable conferences, we were talking about GPUs, right? VMs. So NVIDIA, Microsoft, AWS, somewhere or the other, we are actually leveraging their services in some shape and form, because of which they see a place in the top 10, right? So wanted to start this slide, and on the right-hand side, if you see, there is a huge dynamic shift in the industry, right? 5 years back, the companies had a product-centric mindset, right? Everything was centric around the product. Everything, your marketing strategies, your brand marketing, your channels, everything was around the product. Today, I think we have customer at the center, right? We are customer obsessed and we talk about customer centricity. And all these companies, somehow they leaned towards the unmet needs of the customers and they evolved with time, right? One company which is not there and which is very close to all of us from the entertainment industry, guys, any guesses? Netflix, right? It largely changed the way it operates and today disrupted the entire space, right? So the message on this slide is technology is here to stay, and some of these companies, they evolved with time, and that's the reason they are on this top 10 list. Quickly on the, so this is the recent 2 months back data from IDC, where IDC says this is what will be the value, cumulative value that the AI market will generate, right? Again, the key message that I wanted to park is the 3 different ways in which this is adding to the overall economy, right? One is a very direct way, which we all know. We are creating solutions around AI, Gen AI, agentic, right? Indirect way is in order to create these services, right, we are leveraging, say, an AWS from a competition standpoint. We are using GCP, hyperscalers, so on and so forth, right? And third is the completely induced angle, where we are saying because of this, how the end users who are the receptors, right, how their lifestyles are changing, how their income levels are changing, how the spendings are changing because of this AI inflection, right? So I found this slide very useful, and the next slide, which so we are saying that for every new dollar spent, AI will generate a $4.6 revenue. Very recently, right, I think 2 months back, the Indian version of Dreamforce happened in Bombay, where Arundhati was sitting and we all were discussing with her, where she said and spoke about agent force, right? And the question that people asked was, how can really be agent replacing human beings? 2 weeks back, Mark Benioff, right, CEO of Salesforce, he introduced a video saying 30% of his workforce across engineering, across automation, right, will be reduced. And when he said the word reduced, the moderator immediately asked, what do you mean by the word reduced, right? Will you be laying off these people? His answer was no. We will try to do more with less, right? And that's the reason lot of Indian companies are actually experimenting with, say, a RPA++ kind of an automation driven through agents, right? And Indian version of, there are a lot of Fluid.ai, there are a lot of companies who are actually helping us to achieve this. And hence, again, I thought this slide would make a lot of sense where we are saying the way that ROI is calculated today, right? Up until now, the calculation of ROI was your total value created of any solution divided by the investment, right? Today, the value that AI creates is actually the value that AI is generating. Denominator is your investment in terms of one-time cost, your recurring cost on cloud, into the probability of success. So the probability of success is a huge game changer, right? And we'll deep dive towards it towards the end as to what are those typical use cases which we, at least in CEAT, we have tried to solve for. Again, this slide shows the top 10 companies. I mean, some of the industries where AI has really seen good, good level of interaction in terms of how we have really generated solutions and customers are using these services, right? And manufacturing being one of the top adopters. Okay. So from a industry 4.0 to 5.0, when we are talking about the change, the shift that is happening, right? What are the major factors? So when we speak about industry 4.0, we were largely focusing on automation, a lot of data exchanges, IIoT, so on and so forth. What majorly changed when we speak about industry 5.0 is a lot of human centricity, right? A lot of cobots. Any idea what cobots are? Please. What's the difference between a robot and a cobot? Right. Absolutely. So these are largely collaborative robots, right? Which will work alongside a human being, especially focusing on enhancements and safety. These are the two core factors, especially which is very, very useful in shop floors, right? So that is what Industry 5.0 is focusing on: human centricity, sustainability, and cobots, right? And the key enablers from an emerging tech standpoint, which is really pushing this change, are listed on the bottom, right? And again, I'm not deep diving into these things. We all are aware of cybersecurity, cloud computing, AI, and IIoT, right? Next. Okay. I'll not touch all the aspects, but I found this very useful. Again, a recent IDC Gartner mix, where we are talking about the key trends which we will see in the manufacturing sector in the next 2 to 3 years. And I found one of them very useful in this, which is foresight factories. Again, any guesses what this really mean? Any guesses? I mean, what does this term in general, does it click anything? Please. No. What else? Yeah, remote operations. What else? How close is this with a digital twin? Okay. Right. So, so there was a research paper which says today we all know what digital twin is, right? A virtual simulation of an entire factory. Today, Foresight Factory takes that to the next level, saying that, okay, because of change of any demand, right? Any fluctuations in demand will need to change your supplies adequately, right? Now today, if I make a change in my upstream or downstream processes, I don't really know what the impact of that change will be, right? So Foresight Factory takes this to the next level, saying even without making the actual change, you can actually visualize what the impact would be. So that is taking digital twin to the next level. And people have, I mean, there are a few companies not in India who have already experimented this, and hence this is a trend which India might see in the next 2 to 3 years, right? Purposeful production, again, very interesting. Any guesses what this is? Sorry? That is one of it. What else? Today we are all talking about MDM, right? Master Data Management, which basically tells me the nitty-gritties of how my factory setups are. It tells me how the data is flowing. It tells me to keep a check of my demand sensors where I produce adequately, right? So this purposeful production is actually also focusing towards a lot on the green factories, right? Today, all the factories, right, they have a deterrent effect on the environment. right? And hence, if you saw on the previous slide of Industry 5.0, we are talking about sustainability. So this is a sustainability angle where we are saying, because of the data that we have in hand, we exactly know how much do we need to produce, right? So just-in-time production, just-in-time delivery, OTIFs, all those KPIs are to be met. And because of this data that we have, we exactly know how much we need to produce. Remaining all are more or less, we have heard it, so I'm not getting into it. Metaverse monitoring is something, again, something not very new, but today companies are using metaverse monitoring in terms of training their factory people, where they're working on very high-end machines, right? As a training, monitoring, a lot of testing is happening even before they get on the real-time job. And Experience Hub, again, this is very interesting. So Experience Hub is something where, say, for example, if today I'm talking about our industry, CEAT, our OEMs are companies like a Toyota, Maruti, so on and so forth, right? So these companies, when they come to us, right, if there is a way we can actually show through simulation, how does a tire actually work, right? A 3D model of it in terms of the mileage that it can give, in terms of the road resistance that it has, etc. So how can I see a virtual simulation of a tire real life on any of the cars? That is what companies are expected, and they are actually looking forward to see. And we have created such kind of a simulation zone in the R&D centers. So that is what Experience Hub really means. Quickly moving on. Okay, I'll just quickly touch upon this. Next. Or. So again, not something new, but we are talking about in general, right? When we talk about a smart factory, what are the core areas, how we should really measure the efficiencies across various pillars, right? So of course, if we really target different use cases, the benefits might come in terms of improved asset efficiency, right? Where we can see really a lot of improvement in the asset utilization, a lot of capacity utilization, or efficiently utilized. We can see a lot of reduced downtime. Similarly, when we talk about reduction of labor inventory cost, we see a lot of reduction in labor cost, sourcing cost, scrap value, warranty cost, etc. And finally, in terms of improvement and security, where we are saying a lot of safety incidents might come down, right? I mentioned cobot. A lot of employee satisfaction can be seen because of these metaverse related thing, where we are training these people on ground, on the machines in a virtual setup. When we talk about improved product quality and reduced waste, we are talking about reduction of scrap. A lot of use cases we have deployed in our factories, improvement in yield and fill rates, and reduction in lead times. And we have a use case to show how we have actually deployed AI to reduce lead time. Next. Okay, a quick, before we get into the use cases, wanted to showcase how we really deploy specific use case, right, starting from the inception or the ideation stage to strategizing it, creating a proof of concept, right, testing it in terms of the overall equipment efficiency, the throughput, and finally putting it across plants from an industrialization standpoint. And finally, the last stage is where we see scaling this across different plants if it is successful in one plant, which is my sustenance phase. So this is a quick diagram which we are trying to showcase, and this is how we develop use cases across all the plants. Okay, now getting into the CEAT journey, right? Next. So people say that even before we could fly, we need a runway, right? So the year 2015 to 2019 is where we really focused on creating the foundational blocks for CEAT, right? We focused on creating MES, okay? A lot of digital pillars. That is what we focused between 2015 to 2019. In 2017, we had MES across plants. 2021 is when we actually focused on talent, right? Today, we are talking about AI. In order to also utilize that AI skill, we need talent, right? We need to invest in talent. That is the reason across plants, we have data engineers, we have data scientists, and business translators who are working in hand to hand with the shop floor people to work on the use cases, to identify problems, and then deliver the solutions of those. 2022 was the first time when CEAT was the first tire industry to be recognized as Lighthouse, right? So our Halol plant got the Lighthouse status in 2022, and immediately 2 years after that, in 24, last year, we got the second plant, which is the Chennai plant, got the Lighthouse status. So we are the only tire company in India to have 2 plants as Lighthouse status plants. And again, the credit goes to the solid foundation, as I said, and how we have really built this roadmap, investing across various pillars, including people, the infrastructure part, the technology part, and the mindset where we are talking about we should experiment, learn fast, fail fast, learn fast. Okay. Again, a quick snapshot as to, if you see, I just mentioned the Lighthouse status that we got. This is the Global Economic Forum where our chairman is receiving the award on this 2024 for the Chennai plant. On the right hand side, if you see, there are some of the companies with whom we are really working very close hands in hand. And the center pillar is what I wanted to focus on, where we are saying across not only manufacturing, we'll be deep diving into manufacturing, but we are actually focusing a lot on AI across procurement, where we are building solutions for the end users. There is a lot of use cases which really helped us get this Industry 4.0 Lighthouse status for us. There is a lot on the front end where we are talking on channel partners, where we have a very evolved dealer management system. And of course, there is a CDP, a customer data platform, which we have created for the end customers, where we are helping them choose the right tire all the way from selection to finally purchasing and getting that fitted to their tires, which is a phygital model completely. Next. Okay. 2 examples that we wanted to actually highlight, right? So this is one of the very recent example where the problem for us was to expand in international markets, right? And when we speak about expansion, which means for us, we need to roll out new portfolios, new SKUs in a very short lead time, right? And creation of die design basis machine parameters, material parameters was one of the critical bottlenecks. And the field testing time, which is almost close to like 30% of my new product development cycle time, was one of the key bottlenecks in this entire process. That is where we applied a lot of regression, a lot of trial, a lot of machine learning models to really reduce the trial period from 80 to 67%. We reduced the lead time by 30%. And in this process, the scrap got reduced by 22%. So this was one of the Lighthouse use cases which we have across all the plants, which is in effect today. Next one. The second one, again, very, very common across a lot of industries, but in the tire industry, this is the first one again that we did. So the problem here was the global demand was to make robust product, which are very high on performance, and hence the need to move from carbon to silica, right, as a raw material. And this shift led to increase of my cycle time in the mixing process. So batch to batch cycle time variation was one of the key issues here, which led to a lot of efficiency and energy loss, right, up to 30%. That is where we applied gradient boosting model across 15 plus parameters, including proxy parameters of temperature, to really fine tune this process to the extent of 10 seconds, did a lot of iterations across 6 months to achieve results where we are today claiming that we have reduced the variation by 58% and leading to 17 metric ton of increased capacity month on month. So this is the second use case that we wanted to showcase. I skipped that because that was non-manufacturing part, so I got a timeout thing. So I quickly wanted to cover this slide, last couple of slides. This slide basically showcases where I started from, right? All of us are trying to generate use cases, create AI use cases. So this is again an IDC slide where we are saying out of 29 POCs that we really target, 4 reaches the production stage and we see 64% success rate. Why? The reasons are listed, right? I'm not going through those reasons, but sharing from my experience that today it is very, very important that before we kickstart any AI use case, right, we exactly need to know what data we are actually sitting on. A demo from a good partner might look very, very good, but we might not be able to visualize the same or see the same impact of that same use case in that same appropriate way because we might not have the data for it, right? Our systems might not be suitable to actually take those data in the same shape and form. So it's very important we have the requirements very clear. We spend decent amount of time in selection of the vendor that we have, and we see what data we have at hand, whether that is consumable or not. Last slide, and there are some goodies which she has promised me to give. Any guesses who this person is? Name of the person will give the award. Award is only for the name of the person. No? Steve Ballmer, right? So, and what's the incidence? Microsoft acquired Nokia, right? And that is where this gentleman, he was actually in tears and he said, we didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we still lost. And this again connects my first slide. If we don't evolve with time, somebody else will come disrupt us. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.